Cool. So guys, we've made it to booklet 10. Fantastic. This is our last major booklet. And what we've got is some really specific information about how we engage with our primary resources. So one of the first things we need to do when we get here is just remind ourselves about what we're doing. Why are we doing primary research? You only want to engage in it if it's actually going to assist you. And so we need to think about why these things would assist us. So we know that experimentation can be really useful, but it's only useful if you're actually trying to test between two different variables. If you're trying to get people's opinions, an experiment is not going to be useful. If you are looking at whether or not attendance at school makes a difference to your studies, then yes, you could potentially do an experiment. You could decide to not go to school for 2 weeks, but you've got to think about, is that the best way and the most ethical way to actually test that variable? So experiments definitely useful for testing two variables, trying to find correlation between them, but must be used sparingly, usually for more scientific type reports. Okay, surveys. So why do we use surveys? Keyword here is that a survey usually has opinions, and so that means that there will be biases, and that is okay, because sometimes in topics you want to know what people's biases are because you want to actually be able to engage with them. So for example, you might discuss that when looking at whether marijuana should be legalized, we should actually get people's opinions because this is a social topic with a social outcome. We might potentially also consider that surveys would be really good for extracting more broader information across samples. So for example, I could interview my friend about what it's like for her to live in a world where COVID-19 has occurred, and I could get her detailed interview. Now that's really good for getting really in-depth detail about one personal experience. But when we're doing a survey, what we're actually doing is we're trying to capture a cross-section. We're trying to find out what is it like for a range of 15 to 17-year-olds to be homeschooled during this period of time. That's a very different intention, and it will mean that you ask different types of questions. This is less about specific detailed data and more about capturing a snapshot. Interviews then are the exact opposite. This is a detailed interaction with an individual, and we're trying to either get their personal or professional experience. They will still probably provide you with opinion. There will still probably be bias, and as long as you identify it, that's okay. What we need to think about with interviews is that we're trying to engage someone for the specifics. We don't want to interview someone for information that we can Google. We want to take the information on Google, we want to think about it, and then we want to figure out, what is Google not telling me that I need this NASA astronaut to help me with? It's about actually being far more specific. Observational research can be really good when we're measuring different types of interactions because it allows you to witness things as they are. And that's really important. Observations don't change any variables. So it's not about an experiment where, I want to know what it's like to be a reception for a week. I observe the reception classroom. I don't go in and change anything. If I wanted to find out the best strategies for teaching children to read, I go in and observe the teachers who teach reading, but I don't go in and change anything. That would make it an experiment. So it's just about documenting things that are happening. So it could be writing down how much sunlight comes into your bedroom window every day. It could be, and you haven't changed anything, you haven't actively changed a variable, you're just observing it. Action research then is different. Action research